You are listening to This is Oklahoma, hosted by Mike Hearne, telling stories of Oklahomans and those that have made it their home.
This podcast is presented by the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, telling Oklahoma stories through its people since 1927. Follow them online at oklahomahof.com and definitely on Instagram at oklahomahof. Let's get into today's episode. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. I know you're extremely busy. It's been 2 years since I previously recorded with Lou. It was episode 123, which for people who don't know, Lou is a big part of your team, does a lot of behind the scenes camera work, and he's featured all over the stuff. But he's kind of like the guy who set up this. If you're watching on video, he set up this awesome scene for us with multiple cameras and makes me look a lot better than I do and more professional than I do. So
thank you, Lou.
Shout out to Lou for that. But I mean, since we did our podcast 2 years ago, I said, look, whenever the boys are ready, let's set it up, because a lot of, you have a huge following, not just on, commercially through TV, but social media. And just, I always said to Lou that you guys kind of seem to, I guess, adopt the social media side of things a lot more than others or people who you're aligned with, in the industry, which is really cool to see. But I guess a lot of people, see you doing crazy projects and cars and camper vans and the boat down the river, which was awesome. And the amount of water that came out of the back of that thing was pretty epic. The camper was pretty good. I liked you messing with people. The camper.
Oh, that was a lot of fun.
Going?
Yeah.
We'll get into all the other projects and kind of the meaning behind them. But before we do, talk a little bit about, I guess, kind of growing up in Oklahoma, maybe your origin story and previous life to Asian and Farm Truck.
Go ahead, Asian.
So, born and raised. I'll let Farm Truck tell his history, but I'm born and raised just a middle-class kid. Went to Putnam City Original, graduated 2000. I went to Northridge Elementary. I went to Cooper Middle School when it was first built. And so, typical Oklahoma childhood, nothing major there. And then I think that your hobbies somewhat become those who you surround yourself with, naturally, right? And so my friends just became attracted to the automotive industry, whether it was a hot rod pickup, whether it was Big Chief on the show and his Pontiac, whether it was a Flip in his car, Kamikaze, all these guys from the show I went to high school with, I kind of saw them as cool. Right? Even though they were my peers, I saw what they were doing as cool because I wasn't doing anything. And that led me into the cruising Route 66 and building a car of my own with my father and meeting a Farm Truck along the way, all in Oklahoma.
Yeah. What's the age gap between you guys?
About 20 years.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Somewhere in there.
Somewhere in there.
For sure, yeah.
What about you?
Well, I was born in Oklahoma, Baptist Hospital. Moved to Bethany in 1967. I was 5 years old. And I kind of, went to Putnam City Schools, grew up with my brothers, street racing, cruising on Route 66. We grew up a mile away. So I'd ride my bicycle down and I'd watch the cars cruise. I was also brought home from the hospital in a 1956 Ford pickup. It had some dirt track motor in it that my dad picked up, and it was loud and rumbled.
You remember?
Caught on fire all the time.
That was the moment.
That was the moment.
But anyway, no one else in my family really has gotten into cars. I say my brothers raced, but it was my brother's friends, right? And I was always fascinated with the horsepower, and it just I was just attracted to it for whatever reason. I blame it on the ride from the home from the hospital.
Are you the youngest of the brothers?
I am.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you always looked up to them and their friends and always wanted to be with them, what they're doing, kind of typical younger brother.
That's right.
Yeah.
There was Jack Hearne. He had a Bandit Trans Am. And then there was Lee Foreman. He had the Mustang, the fastback Mustang, which was awesome.
Yeah. The bullet Steve McQueen type.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. It had the 351 Cleveland in it.
Okay.
And they were always working on this thing, trying to get it right. There was another guy named Troy Wheeler that had this awesome motor, and he kept pulling it out and putting it in different cars. Yeah. And I think my favorite one was he had an Impala. It was an old Chevy Impala that he put it in, and we all thought it was a heavy car, but man, that thing would light them up and go.
Yeah.
So
Much simpler times.
that's right.
Right.
And then when I first met Asian, should I let you ask this question?
No, I
Okay.
mean, you're taking the words
Right.
right out of my mouth. This is
Okay.
awesome. You're doing great. It's like
So-
you're trained. It's like you've done this before.
When I first met Asian, we were cruising Route 66, and the thing about him, here's this young kid, but the first thing that struck me, he's listening to the Beach Boys,
No
and I'm
judgment,
like,
right?
man, this kid has an music and hot rod education.
Yeah.
I thought he was immediately the coolest young guy I'd ever met because he was blaring it, the Beach Boys. What's cooler than that?
Yeah.
I think that's the purpose of it all, right? I was always the least cool kid in my school, and we're all trying to seek that talent or that car or the way to dress to make yourself feel cool,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And music makes you feel cool, right? And depending on where you heard it first, really makes you feel cool.
Right.
And the car that you're in, if it's yours, it doesn't even have to be yours. You can borrow it. It makes you
Yeah.
feel cool, right? I think that we all stay at a fundamental uncool in our daily lives,
Yeah.
right? And we seek and reach for those things that make us feel just heighten that experience.
Right.
And as a kid, nothing heightened it more for me than riding in a hot rod and listening to oldies, man.
Yeah.
And that just comes from your raise, right? Dad, listening to oldies, his friends listen to oldies and working
Yeah.
on. It's just a part of the makeup of the DNA of growing up.
Music's so personal too, isn't it? And then
Yeah.
you tie it to cars, and you always bring
Sure.
back all the memories of where you heard
Right.
that song, who you were driving
Right.
with.
It's anchored in.
Yeah, it's pretty special moments for sure. And I'm sure we've all got those memories of driving somewhere with friends, family, dads, granddads, whoever, and
Right.
that first moment is pretty. I mean, it's etched into your mind,
And
isn't it?
it's personal.
Very personal.
Right? And that's what it is. And when you find someone else that connects with that personal emotion or attachment you have, you're just like, whoa, we need to talk, right? Like we need to have a
Right.
conversation about what we like here, right? And then you just become friends.
Yeah.
Your old friends and even music hold your history, and when you hear that song, whenever I hear the Beach Boys, I grew up listening to the Beach Boys, but it always reminds me of Asian, and his little Chevy 2, red Chevy 2.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
And your friends and the music hold your history.
Yeah.
it does.
So this was obviously, I mean, long before you guys made a career out of, doing what you do.
Well, now that was a mistake. we didn't mean to do that.
We didn't make it.
Yeah,
but we do.
what were you doing at that time? Like, were you going to school? Did you graduate? Were you, what were you working at? Like, obviously, cars is a passion and love on the side that any spare money that we have is probably going into our car somehow.
Sure.
What was the day job at that point?
I was actually I was trying to go towards a graphic design degree of some
Okay.
sort. I was going to a technical institute, Metro Tech, here off of South Bryan. I was actually going with Lou at the time, so we were students in the same class. And
How fortunate of you!
I know, right? What's the serendipitous, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it was. I still do that, right? Like it was
Right.
still a goal I wanted to be a magazine editor. I wanted to work in the automotive. I wanted to work for Hot Rod Magazine, right? I had all these, these California dreams, right? And graphic design was going to take me there. And you get good enough something. It doesn't mean that you love it, but it means that I'm kind of married to this. I got good enough at
Right.
it. And so it brought me further along, and I started using that talent to give street racers T-shirts, right? Design websites, make stickers. We had a sign shop, so I was able to contribute to our very small car culture with my talents, and that kind of carried me for a while there.
So that was your
my
your
thing.
plan to get into the car world, was being graphics.
The sign guy, the graphic designer, bringing because all industries need that.
Sure.
And so that was my if you're going to come to class and you don't know the homework, bring pizza, right? I was bringing stickers, I was bringing
Right.
T-shirts, I was saying, hey, I made this stuff, and they would appreciate it at the time.
Yeah. That explains a lot of what you do now.
Yeah.
Right? Like with all the merch and all the cool
Right.
collaborations and graphic stuff.
It all just kind of
That's right.
flowed right into
Yeah.
it. It really did.
What about you?
Well, I was always interested in building things and
Yeah.
banging on things with hammers and turning screws and wrenches and from when I was in diapers before I could talk, I was always interested in what my father was doing, and he'd have me standing on the piece of plywood to hold it down while he cut it. And I just thought, man, this guy, he's doing cool stuff. So I grew up as a contractor, laid brick. I was a carpenter for a while. Did wood floors, set tile, hung sheetrock, you name it. I call myself a house mechanic.
Okay.
Roofing, whatever,
Yeah.
plumbing.
I have a leak in my shower right now. It's driving me nuts.
Right after this, right?
That's a problem. That's a problem.
That is a problem.
I got a little drip right now. It's driving me nuts. Yeah. So you just kind of grew up like always good with your hands, and then kind of just wanted to do stuff like that. Never thought about, office job was like the death of humankind, I guess.
Is my dad, he never called anybody for anything. Like the repairman.
Yeah.
He was the repairman. He was the mechanic. He was the roofer. He was, you name it.
Back when men
was
were men.
it. That's right.
Not like me. I'm like, I need someone to fix
Well,
this.
Whenever he was born in the 30s, there wasn't anyone to call.
Right.
So you just grew up doing it all.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of way I was raised. The transition was pretty easy for me to convert over to cars.
Right.
Because we built the farm truck in a garage, and just in our spare time we built it, and
Just using the geometry that you knew from contracting, right?
Yeah.
all right, well, we need to cut this right here. Well, it's not wood, it's not brick, it's not tile, it's metal. Okay, I'll cut it. Yeah. It's different tools.
Yeah.
Basically the same skill set.
Right. So that's kind of like the backstory, how you guys meet on, cruising around, and you're kind of part of the same scene.
Yeah.
Fast forward then, when does it come to like you have now joined together and you are this like, I guess the brand or the it's farm truck and agent. Like, how does that all come around?
Yeah, we never really thought about it that way
Right.
until the show really came out. Right, we just were friends. And
So the show was coming. So you were involved generally in the scene then, and then obviously the show comes.
Yeah, we were involved in the scene.
Okay.
You take the scene and you scale it. I firmly believe that nothing has really changed. We're just an exaggerated version of what we were then.
Which is great.
Right.
That's what the power is, right? That's like the golden nugget of, content is like, we don't want to take away, we don't want to make this corporate. Like, keep it who you are, we'll just bring more cameras.
I think so. I think that's what it is. And so we would just, basically we would just build stupid stuff, or we'd go out cruising and look for races. We would trick people in the farm truck, making them think it's slow and take a little money here and there, right? We thought that was normal. We really did, in our own little world. And the other guys kind of did a version of that, but they were more serious. They were a little more cutthroat, a little bit more edgy, a little bit more, we need
there was a list, and Big Chief started a website.
Okay.
And if you wanted to be on that list, you got on the website.
Yeah.
called someone
people out pretty much the same way as
it is
what it
now.
happens.
Yeah.
It's a little bit different, but basically the same.
Yeah, not much has really changed. So people are like, "Oh, so much is not really." If they only knew what we started with, they would realize that not really much has changed.
Yeah.
He's still the leader.
You've just got cameras now.
We've just got cameras,
That's right.
and the cars are a little different. We're making more power. We wear different clothes. We are a little more commercial.
Yeah.
You have to be, right?
Right, of course.
There's no sustainability in doing things for free for the rest of your
and then
life.
people start watching and they want you to get faster, and cars go, and then budgets and all the other
That's
nonsense
right.
comes into it, right?
That's
and
right.
generally progression is that you go from, I guess, doing this as a hobby to wow, we're investing a significant amount of money in our cars and our production because like this is a legit thing now, not just
true.
Racing down the road because you just for the love of it.
Yeah, and
which you still do that.
And hey, people look at that and they're like, well, why can't you just do that? But it's much like this. We could just talk to ourselves, but then where's you? You have to come in here to tell people that we're talking to you, and then you have to find a way to pay for this microphone again and again and again, and if it breaks, you got to pay for it. And then so you have to find a way to make a little bit of money to recoup for the losses that you incur. that's life.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
It begins to just kind of spread out, and everybody gets their cut, whether it's greed or not.
Right.
It's you need to pay for yourself. You need to live. Someone needs to buy lunch.
Yeah. So I guess the show puts you two together then, right? But you're already building the farm truck at this. You're already
Whenever they first approached us, they wanted to film us racing. We thought they were cops, and we were like, "Yeah, right.
Yeah,
you want to film
seen
us
this movie before,
right?
Yeah,
you know,
nice job.
try.
Yeah.
But it was Big Chief that set it all up.
Yeah.
They came out with some cameras, and they shot a sizzle reel pilot, and they I guess they interviewed a dozen of us, and only 7 people maybe got a contract. And Asian and I guess we were good enough talkers.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to do, but I knew he was a good talker. And in the real world, he was the one that always went out and got the races.
Gotcha.
He always worried me because he's always setting me up with these cars with wheelie bars and parachutes. And I'm like, I can't outrun. Yes, you can.
They don't know what's under.
Yeah,
That's
they don't.
right. You're all
They
good.
don't.
Yeah.
We'd get out there and we'd win. So I knew that it needed to be natural, and we just needed to be who we were.
Yeah.
He had just moved back from California, and the timing was perfect. And
Yeah. What were you in California for?
I worked for an aftermarket parts company. They make polyurethane bushings. It was a company called Energy Suspension. And I actually got a big education out there, just, myself and career-wise, because they took me to the large trade shows. They took me to the SEMAs, the PRIs, the National Parts Warehouses, and it I cut my teeth on learning. I got into that world thinking, oh, it's all fun. Everybody just makes car parts and works. It's nothing like that. The car world is more corporate than it is car, right? And so I had to learn, and I didn't like that world. I learned it, but I didn't like it. And I thought, man, I need to go back to Oklahoma and do what I really loved. And I didn't know that was going to pay dividends in my future, right? I didn't know the education I got out there as a struggle would lend itself to what we're doing now, and it actually lended itself exactly to what we needed to do.
That's right.
It was weird how it fit.
We were able to hit the ground running.
Yeah, because of what I knew. But I didn't want to know it, right?
Yeah.
So
product of just your environment and the places that you're at. But it sounds like, most Oklahomans, you tried as hard to get out of here as fast as possible, right? And then you get pulled back.
That's exactly what happened. Yeah,
which is, there's plenty of stories of people in all industries who've done that, and even if it's family or whatever's brought them back, you did come back. And
I think it's important to know. I think your ego would get in the way of not coming back. Right. Like, I got something to prove.
Yeah.
I've got to prove to the people in California. I got something to prove to my friends that I made it. But I had this just feeling on the inside that tug at me, and I was like, I need to go home as fast as possible. Yeah. And I did. I sold everything before I left to California. I sold everything after I left California. I came back with nothing. Yeah. He gave me my first job coming back. He's like, Agent, if you need a job, you lay floors, and did that for about a month and quit.
I'm not doing it. This sucks. This is awful.
That was man's work. Nah, he hustled. He did a great job.
Yeah. Just hand me tools.
That was just something to keep him busy until something else came along.
He helped me out. But then about a year later, the year or so, 2 years, whatever.
I don't know, it seemed like a couple of months.
I know, right?
But it was probably a year, maybe.
They called and they were like, "Hey, we're interested." Complete random. We didn't expect anything. Move on with our lives. But they called and said, "Hey, we're gonna do this thing." Okay, whatever. Click. 7 months later, Discovery bought it, guys.
Right.
We're gonna film. It's going to be 8 weeks, 8 episodes. Yeah. And we're like, well, whatever.
Yeah, sure. Still don't think this is going to happen.
One of the hardest things we've ever done, trying to cram all of our personality into 8 weeks. Right. All the while learning how they do it.
Yeah.
So February 1st, just past February of 22, marked our 10th year.
That's crazy.
Of doing Street Outlaws.
It's gone so fast.
Yeah,
so that was our first day to film.
Yeah.
So we're on our 10th year.
When you get there on that first day and you've got producers and cameras and people miking you up and lights everywhere, what's going through your mind? Are you thinking like, Are you still waiting for someone to pinch you to say,
Pure
like, you know,
fear.
like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, it was kind of weird.
What do we say? What do we do? You
Yeah.
know, we were nervous. And then, you know, what calmed us down is, you know, we just said, look, man, we're not actors. We only know how to be us. We're going to be us. And if people don't like us, we'll go back to doing what we did before.
Yeah.
You know, we'll give this a shot. We'll give it everything we got. And here we are.
Yeah, but it was a bit of a fantasy world for the first 2 seasons.
It was.
It was a lot of changes were happening to everybody. A lot of temporary changes, right? When people say, "Oh, this guy changed," if he really did change, it's very temporary.
Yeah.
He's going to go back to who he was, right? You can't sustain something that isn't you.
Yeah.
So, you know, we tried to find ourselves. We tried to, you know, hey, why aren't our friends supporting us? Why are we
Right.
losing friends? All of this was a whirlwind of trying to understand why it was happening. And so
It happened way too fast.
it did happen way
Yeah.
too fast. It did, and we made mistakes, man. Mistakes were made.
Sure, we did.
and I have regrets. So you're like, you take it, I take some stuff back, right? Like, like I would. And I think everybody does. And hey, we're at a place now where I'm glad we went through that. But I'm glad I'm not there anymore. Right? Something can be too amazing. Something can be too amazing, and it will trick you.
Right.
It's a trap, right? Don't lose yourself in the amazingness of what you see around you, because that's what they want.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes good.
Right, it makes good
right?
TV, doesn't
makes
it?
great
I mean, if you have a
television.
mental breakdown on TV,
Truly.
they don't. I mean, okay, he's
Yeah.
having a mental breakdown, but this is great TV.
It's
Yeah.
great
You know,
TV.
are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. Doesn't matter.
And I don't blame
Film
them.
him.
They're getting
Yeah.
it right.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
and so, but it was an absolute about 1.5 years, 2 years of amazing.
Yeah.
And we didn't know how to handle it.
When did it get to the point where, like, I mean, it's been 10 years. What point did it get to that you quit your day job and were like, you know, like, we do this now? Like, when did it become a point where, I guess, you quit the day job and then went all into building project cars, branding, like, all of that, right?
Well, I quit my day job February 1st.
That sign-up check, that first contract. Okay, we're good.
Bought a Rolls Royce.
I'm
What do you want me to do? Yeah.
You know, I just
Yeah.
thought, you know,
It was that big of a check then, obviously.
No, it was a big
no, it was not.
Yeah.
It is not.
Or you made no money contracting.
I just know me,
Yeah.
and I can't half do anything. And if I'm going to do it,
Yeah.
it's going to be all out, and I'm going to give it everything I got.
Yeah.
And I knew that, hey, you know, maybe I could turn this into something. And so I quit my job and went all out.
Yeah.
I don't know, Asian hung on for a while, his job.
Yeah. So going back, there was no money, right? And so
Yeah.
I am frugal to the core, right? And so I'm like, heck no, I'm not quitting my. That's the dumbest thing I'm gonna ever do. And so I
Right.
tried to hold on. That was another mistake that was made.
Yeah.
Right. It really was. I should have let go earlier, but I held on through my frugality, through my
Sure.
responsibility to the guy that I was helping at the time build a website, and it's a local company, Cruiser Corps. They do Land Cruisers,
Yeah.
and I was trying to help him out. Really loved my job. He really took care of me. Like, why would I lose this for this temporary thing?
Right.
And I ended up making him mad, right? Like, because I'd come in late after filming, and you know, what are you doing, kid? You're coming in
Yeah.
late bragging about filming, and you're showing up late. I ruined that, and he ultimately came in and said, "Hey, you're gonna quit, or I'm gonna fire you."
Yeah.
And I'm
He
like,
gave you the option.
Yeah, he really did, and he goes, "I love you."
He knew where it was going.
He knew.
Yeah.
And he goes, "I want you to do you." He says, "But you're gonna have to quit, or I'm gonna." And I was like, "Okay."
But also, he was killing himself. You
Working
know,
2 hours,
filming all hours of the night,
Right.
catching 2 hours sleep, and then showing up for work.
yeah.
You know,
It's doing nobody any good.
You know,
Right.
Right.
his boss knew it, and his boss cared.
Yeah.
You know,
He did.
cared enough to fire him.
This is gonna suck right now. This is the best thing for you.
Yeah,
I
the best
promise.
thing. I love you. I do this for you.
If you stop doing that thing, you can always come back.
Yeah. And then that's when I quit. That's when I went hard on the branding. I was like, okay, well, I'm no longer doing it for this. If I'm not doing that, what am I doing when we're not filming? And I was like, I need to
Right.
do what I'm doing. And
Yeah.
that's when I went hard on the branding, tried to help out the other guys, pushed hard on our merch website, things of that nature.
So that came from just you wanting to get into it rather than like whoever was it Discovery?
Yeah.
So Discovery didn't say to you
No,
guys,
they didn't
we
care.
want you to go build a brand,
Nope.
get your Instagram, social media. Like
Nope.
that was
Oh,
all like
no,
self,
nothing.
like
No,
that was
no,
all
no,
you.
no.
Not at the time.
Looking
They-
at it from the outside, looking back now, you'd think they'd want you to just generate more buzz, right?
You think
but I
they
guess
did.
10 years ago, I mean, it was still early on with
They didn't
social
have the
media.
manpower to really teach us
Yeah.
that yet. right?
Yeah.
They didn't have their own maybe social media department. That's 10
Sure.
years,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That's a short time, but a long time for social
But,
media. And they didn't really have that ready yet. Twitter was it.
Right.
Twitter was the biggest thing at the time. Facebook was rolling, but it wasn't an advertising, megalodon it is now.
Right, because I mean, right now, I think I checked this morning, you guys are at 3.4 million
it's awesome.
followers, I think, or likes or page followers on,
It's
on
crazy.
Facebook.
Yeah.
Which, when you put that, I always think when people have huge followings, like you put that into people, right, and you put them in a stadium and think, that's a lot of people.
It's Oklahoma,
right? It's Oklahoma, like,
right.
Exactly. Across the world.
And at the time, it was actually really easy. Facebook was the TikTok, so you could create content and you're racking them up. Now it's very difficult, right?
Yeah.
But at the time, that was the new TikTok, and it was really easy to gain followers if you had content.
Right. But you mentioned there that you didn't just do it for you guys, you did it for everybody.
Tried.
Or at least, because a lot of these guys,
some of them did a good job.
Well, but they don't. Social media is just like whatever at that time, right? They go, why do I want to do that?
We got a television show, guys.
Yeah, and it's not. They don't think of. They're not like you. They didn't grow up in branding or wanting.
That's right.
So they were just normal guys who just loved to race.
That's right.
Right. The last thing they thought about was, we need more people following us, right? Or brand, because the just love of racing.
For me, one
was
phone
all
wasn't
they
enough.
needed.
It wasn't enough. We needed to be everywhere, right? I needed to be able to connect to more people.
Yeah.
One thing that we stuck to is if you want to be successful at whatever you're doing, you need to wish success and help other people be successful.
Mm-hmm.
In return, they will help you.
Yeah.
And that's real success. That's success that will last you a long, long lifetime.
Yeah.
And that's something that we always wanted to do. Always wanted to help all the other street outlaws.
And some of them did a great job by themselves. They didn't need our help, but others I saw that they just were oblivious to it. And so we just tried to maybe educate them or help them with their shirts, design. I don't know.
Others are still oblivious to it.
They just, or they don't care.
Right.
They
It's
just
not
don't.
part of their
But it's so important,
business
right?
model.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I compare it to high school, where the popular kids were the ones that did the most talking or doing. You had to be an athlete or be in a drama or be a cheerleader or football.
Yeah.
You had to have a voice, and if you didn't, you were not known, right? And same goes for the world, right? And television, and our list is the same. You can look at the top characters, and the top characters are the ones that use their voice,
right?
Whether they're winning or they're talking, and that's most important in this world.
One is exactly what you just said. Is looking at it like characters in a show, right? You have to elevate yourself on there, because if we were here talking and coming across like it's not. Extras. You're right. And that's probably something you had to learn. That's not something that you just generally did every day, right? I mean, you don't grow up being, working laying tile with acting as somebody else. Like you can especially when people listening, the first time they put themselves on video and they're like, I thought I was really like animated, and then they watch it again and like, wow, that sucked.
It always sucks.
Right?
It always sucks.
You've got to go through that.
You got to go through all of it.
Always conscious,
that's right. It's difficult.
It's cringy.
Difficult to watch yourself or hear yourself.
Definitely.
But it wears off quick, and you get used to it.
Yeah.
You learn that that's just who you are, and that's what the world has been seeing since you've been alive.
Right.
And get used to that, because it doesn't matter. People can connect to your voice, the way you talk, your mannerisms. Who knows what people like, right? But they'll listen to you tell the same story as some other guy, but they like the way that you do it.
Right.
Just the way it is.
People tell me that because I have an accent. I don't believe it.
It's going to be, you're going to do well, man.
I'm trying my best.
We're glad we're not competing with you.
You didn't have an accent until you came here.
You're right, exactly. No, you're right. Totally right. And when I go home, I get so much crap from my friends when
Texas.
I go home, because they're just like, you sound like such an American.
Yeah. You're actually from West Virginia.
So 10 years, all of the things that have happened in 10 years, we're not going to go through all of them, but there have obviously been some significant moments.
Sure.
And people who've come and gone, and just the amount of friends you have through this, and the cars that have been, raced, ruined, whatever the story. Like, there's so many great, moments of, if you look back at your like catalog of moments, right? I'm sure Lou's got plenty of clips of the great times. And, maybe there is a greatest hits moment out there if you look the last 10 years. Yeah. But conscious of branding, when did you guys, I guess, really start to think, not outside of TV, but TV is just an avenue, Instagram, social media, YouTube's just another avenue. When did you decide that, like, we see this happening, you might be a little kind of on TV they cut a lot of things.
Yeah.
You know, people don't get to see everything.
That's right.
And with YouTube and Facebook, you think we can produce a show that's just, you know, no cuts in it.
Yeah.
We decide what the content is.
That was recent.
Kind of, was that recent?
Yeah,
Right?
it
Because
was
YouTube
recent.
for you guys was what, in the last year or 2 years?
Yeah, we've sprinkled in it.
Yeah.
Knowing again, it's just the social media that's important, right?
Right,
But
yeah,
not
yeah,
knowing
yeah.
the dedication required to make it successful. That was kind of recent. I'd say within the past 2.5 years, we really started.
Really go
you know,
into
me and Farm are loyal to a fault.
Yeah.
And we commit to something.
Sure.
If it's a company, if it's a business, we commit. And at a certain point, we realize there's a lot of dead time.
Yeah,
They can't be as committed as we are. And so we're waiting to do a show. We're like, let's do the show. So where's the show, guys? And they got to film other shows. And they're like, well, what's happening to us?
Right.
And that's at some point we had to pick up our own bags and realize, okay, it's up to us at this point to tell people what we're doing while they're not telling what we're doing.
Right.
And so, again, nothing on them, but they can't film us 24/7. That'd cost a ton of money,
Yeah.
a ton of time, and it has to be specific. So we thought, well, YouTube isn't specific. It tells a story, but over the course of someone's life, not
Right.
a story arc in terms of each day. And so Lou came on board and we pretty much said, hey, let's stop doing stills. That was a couple of years ago, and so let's still do stills, but let's focus more on video. And because we started seeing the impact of other people filming us.
Yeah.
And we're like, wait a second, if they're doing well, we can do well with ourselves. So yeah, a couple of years ago we decided, okay, we're gonna work on us full time.
Yeah.
And until they call, we're gonna do that.
Right. And a cool thing that me and Lou just chatted before we started recording was a cool thing that you do now with, you know, the shows coming out now, and you're releasing behind the scenes episodes on YouTube that are following, like, hey, this is what happened in the show, but this is all the stuff that it takes to get to.
Yeah.
The really cool value, you know, there's value in
Sure.
it, right?
I think so, yeah.
You know, and everyone wants to know what they missed, right?
Yeah.
Because
for
otherwise
sure.
the show would be 24 hours long.
That's right. It
You know,
would.
like-
Yeah. They're trying to shove three months into 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Right. 42 minutes or so, and it's impossible. And you're always going to miss something.
Yeah. What about, I mean, like, 10 years is a lot, but in a grand scheme of things, it's not a lot of time. Like how your lives have changed and the things that you do now. And, you know, 10 years ago, you probably never thought you'd have a farm boat going down the river, you know, in front of downtown or whatever. And, like, you know, the gonorrhea, like there's plenty of stories in that. And for you, like, guys, I mean, what are some of the projects that, like, I mean, is there going to be a museum one day of, like, a warehouse that's just like, these are all our project cars, right?
Jay
Like,
Leno's Big Dog Garage. or something.
yeah, just like, you know, like, because there's 10 years, like, there's at least 10 cars there, surely.
Right,
You know?
10
Like,
car a year, yeah,
10
right.
versions
Sure, there
of, you know, right?
Yeah, I'm a collector of junk,
Yeah.
but I like to turn that junk into art.
That goes fast. It sounds great.
Yeah.
And that is my goal in the whole deal, is to have a museum and a place where the fans can come.
Yeah.
I'd like to have it on Route 66. I think that it would be good for Oklahoma. And that's the end goal. But the problem is we don't have any money.
Because all the money goes into the cars.
That's right.
it does,
But we've
yeah.
never let that stop us.
Right.
You know, we really didn't have any money whenever we built the farm truck, and we just did the best we could with what we had. And we still have that goal to have a museum.
Yeah.
And I think it'll happen.
Right.
Yeah, there's a bridge there that's missing. Right. And it's lined with money.
It's like, well,
That's
so,
right. And that's a guy with
Yeah.
a money bridge.
That's right. Yeah.
To that point, where does all the funding come from? Like, are you purely self-funded?
So, you know, obviously we get paid for what we do.
Yeah.
You know, everybody on television, I don't care from your weatherman to
Sure.
you know, your YouTube influencer, they're getting paid in some way or in some capacity. We never stopped hustling. We buy and sell cars, right? Like, so for our lives, we self-fund the majority of that.
Yeah.
Merch sales, right, help a bunch. The people that support us, that want to support the brand. We've got the firehouse that's open right off 36th Street. That's awesome, right?
Yeah.
And so we've kept it very Oklahoma, very local. It's a portion of the tourism, right? That so if there's a big softball game coming in, they maybe have heard of us and want to come in. So there's an influx there. But it's also endorsements. Just like you were saying, you know, some people support you. You know, one day maybe you can hope to get, you know, some mic sponsor or a laptop sponsor. And for us, we've always stuck by the people we originally that originally helped us. Nitrous Express was the original, right?
Gotcha.
Never left them, right? And that loyalty has paid dividends, right? Where we got now, that's our good credit as a car guy.
Yeah.
Car guys' credit is only as good as what parts you've used for how many years.
Right.
And so we've used the same, attempted to use the same stuff over.
Yeah.
And so those endorsements help with the cars. So
Yeah.
we buy the car, but then
Right.
we're like, well, how do we fix this up?
Yeah.
We call up Nitrous Express.
What would you say then is kind of like the biggest misconception of what you guys do?
That we're rich.
That you're loaded. And,
Yeah.
People think that we're
Yeah.
have a lot of money.
Yeah.
And that's what I thought whenever I used to watch reality TV
Right, yeah.
before our show. I thought, man, those American Chopper guys, they must be banking.
Yeah.
And it's furthest from the truth.
I loved that show.
Did you?
It was a
Yeah, it
great
was
show.
so good.
It was a hit. It was
a great
It
show.
paved the
Such
way
a
for
good
us.
show. Yeah.
It did. It told us, that really was, and our producer is the same guy that produced that show.
Okay.
And it paved the way for car shows. It really did. 'Cause
It
right
did.
after that was Gas Monkey, was Gas
Richard
Monkey.
Rollins.
Those,
Rollins,
That's right. Those guys kicked down the door.
They did.
Yeah.
So Orange County was like, okay, you can have a group of guys in a shop, and nobody cares that they're actually building things.
Right.
It's just the drama, right? Like, and then,
Pure drama.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
the icing on the cake is the cool thing they built at the end of the show, right? And so it paved the way and
Yeah.
showed people, okay, America might like this. And then they experimented in Richard Rawlings, and then they're like, okay, well, they really like Richard Rawlings, how much time he spent, and the camaraderie inside the shop. Then it led into, okay, well, they like competition, and there came Street Outlaws, right?
Yeah.
Can they compete with these cars and get the same effect? And they did, miraculously. Nobody knew that was coming.
Right.
Yeah, and the truth is, it's the T-shirt sales that keep the farm truck and the dung beetle on the road.
Yeah.
It's the fans that keep us going.
Yeah.
And we know that, and we appreciate them.
And going back to how we people that want to get into this, the biggest problem they have is they seek sponsorships before they're doing anything.
Gotcha.
Right.
That's
and, they're like, I need sponsors. What are you doing? Right. What story are you telling that they can attach to, and what is unique about that story? And for us, what we've learned is you have to use this stuff already. You have to buy it, support them first, show them that you support them through time and loyalty.
Yeah.
Then they will call you. Inevitably, they will
Right.
find you.
And
Yeah, if you're good enough.
That's
Right? 'Cause that's a
exactly
huge part about
good
it too,
enough.
right? Is because you could be out there filming videos on your iPhone and you could not be any good at it.
True.
Right?
And that's exactly how we got our first sponsor.
Yeah.
We were out there doing it. Nitrous Express calls us, Mike Woods,
yeah.
and it was actually Abney that called us, and he wanted to sponsor us.
Yeah.
And I'm like, are you sure you got the right phone number? Have you seen my truck? He's like, yeah, we know all about it, and we
Yeah.
love it. And that's the way that it happened. We were out there doing it,
Yeah.
and some people wanted to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And that really helped us along.
It taught
really
us.
did.
So
Yeah.
that's the big key to gaining a fellowship is do it first, take care of them first, help someone first, be a friend first if you
Yeah.
want friends.
Yeah.
Like people are like, oh, how do I make friends? Be a friend first. And if you
That's
don't
right.
if you don't know
Yeah.
how to do that, figure that out. What do you
Yeah.
got to do? Help fix their tire, help be interested in them first.
Right.
And they will be interested in you. That's life, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
But that's what most people get wrong is they think everything should be bought and sold. There should be a trade-off, and there's not. It's
Yeah.
actually you're going to be in a deficit for a long time, and then the payoff will come.
Yeah. You mentioned, the dung beetle. Sean helped you with that one, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I bet.
But Misfire, yeah.
He still got it.
Yeah, great dude. Loves Subarus a little too much.
He does.
But was there people? I assume there's people involved in everything that you've done. Obviously, not just you
Sure.
guys. Obviously, there's Lou and Ed
Sure.
and all the other guys are involved. Devin and just
Yep.
there's a huge team around you. It's not just you guys.
That's correct.
But talk to me about like the projects that you've done and why they're just so off the rail bonkers. Right? It's not just like
Yeah.
you haven't put a big engine in a truck. Like, you put that truck on a boat, and then you did the gonorrhea. Like there's so. Why did you guys see that kind of not risk, but just avenue to go down? I mean, because it's just not normal.
Well, I think that's
right?
his mind.
That's it. Yeah. Where do these ideas come from?
I wake up a lot in the middle of the night. Yeah, I've got my little notepad, and I
What if we did
write
this?
these things down.
Yeah.
I've always just kind of the outrageous stuff is what keeps us going. We love that type of stuff.
Yeah, it's not.
So-
It's not the goal. It's not like, oh, this is going to make us more famous, or this is. I actually think that way, right? I think from
you got the content business brain going.
That's right.
Okay.
And so
That's
when he
right.
comes up with an idea, I'm like, we can do that, but fans aren't. It's not going to translate well. Right. And sometimes we'll do it anyway, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes it hits, sometimes it doesn't, sometimes I'm wrong, right? But I'd have a general idea of what the fans like to see. And so when he brings an idea out and wants to do it, I try to add cool wheels. I try to add a cool steer, something they can relate to
That's right.
on the vehicle that they can be like, oh, that's still, I can do that, right? So he's got this brain that connects to a universal reality, right? And then we try to bring it back, and then he's installing a big block in a refrigerator. And I'm like, what's going on here?
Like, it's gonna stop.
That's right.
It'll work. Yeah.
But it's always worked, and I've always trusted his vision in terms of where he wants to take it. And if he's motivated enough to do it, I'm willing to watch it, man.
Yeah.
If don't stop anybody who's motivated to do something. That's one thing I've learned.
Right.
If Lou gets a harebrained idea to go and create something, go, just do it.
You never know, man.
You never know. Who am I,
Yeah.
right, to tell you that that's not going to hit if I've never seen it happen before?
There's a lot of great lessons in that, right? Just kind of just go do it, and if it
100%.
sucks, you'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But you've got to make that jump first.
Lou will get 1 no out of 10.
Yeah.
Right? Lou will be like, hey, can we do it? Yep, go.
Yeah.
Do it.
That's a great way.
you're
I'm
at
sure
least-
he's happy about that too.
I hope. But at least you're going to make some. I think about break even, right? Again, I'm business, so I'm like, okay, can we break even? If we can break even, it's a yes every single time.
Yeah.
Right. So if he's got some idea, and I'm like, okay.
That's really interesting because a lot of people think, how do I make money out of this?
Yeah, I want to break even.
You're just like, no. This is what it's going to cost.
Let's do
We
all
get to
of it.
break even. It's worth it.
Yeah, we're going to be dead and not broke, right?
Right. Yeah, you can't take it with you.
Yeah.
And then you can accidentally make money every once in a while.
That's right. That's actually the way I've
Well,
done
we
it.
came out ahead. So let's go.
That's
Yeah.
actually the way I've done it, and so
Yeah.
I just think, okay, can we break even? Go for it, take the risk, and to me that's the fun, because if you're just trying to do
Right.
things to make money, that's fun too, but the risk is what's exciting.
Yeah.
As long as you can calculate it.
And I guess you probably would make different decisions if you did do this to make money.
100%.
Right.
100%. Well, we probably wouldn't be friends. There wouldn't be a compromise.
That's right.
Right.
So the compromise is so important in his art, and me trying to translate it into a conversation with the fans.
Yeah.
So it's so important. And the T-shirt sales, right? If something's so off the wall, if he wanted to raise emus, right? I'm like, I don't know if our fans are gonna like that, right? Like they like cars, right? And so it has to be relatable.
Yeah.
Or we're switching gears.
He's the brains of the outfit. He's the one that'll pull me back down whenever I'm thinking of these huge ideas.
Yeah.
And I want to do this and do that. And he's like, what's that going to cost? And I'm like, oh, I didn't think about that. And we're broke. All right, we're not going to do that. So anyway, he's the business, and I'm the wrench.
Yeah.
It works out well. It really does.
Right, it does, and that comes across on camera too, doesn't it? And that's
I hope.
I mean, you've been doing it long enough now that like it's gone past the phase of we're taking a risk on you. Like people who come to you know exactly what they're going to get with you too, so they know that it's easy to just kind of
We hope that. Yeah.
write it into a
Yeah.
story, and that
Well, they know they're
spins
gonna
off
get
into your own
something
show,
different.
etc.
Yeah.
They're not sure what it's going to be.
Yeah, they know we'll talk,
Right.
right? They'll know that we'll do something unique, whether it connects with them or not, and that's about all they can risk, right?
Right.
Like that's about it. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, I think life is about compromise, figuring out what you can get,
Yeah.
make yourself add a little joy to the project, and then make sure that his art still speaks the language
Right.
that was speaking to him, right?
Yeah.
And that's it.
Talk to me about the
no.
gonorrhea then. Let's
Okay.
talk about that, because as a kid, I guess you probably saw that at the state fair.
Yes, the monorail.
Monorail, right?
I think that it all started at the State Fair of Oklahoma and opened in 1964.
Okay.
I wrote it as
Yeah.
a kid. I thought
It's amazing.
that
It's
it
just
was
like
great.
they cut it off. They stopped it, right? You think that'd be a great part for Oklahoma history.
Right.
Or keep it.
Yeah.
Well, it was a miserable ride.
Is it worse riding it now than it was then?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
The idea,
No seatbelts back then.
The idea, it was going to be the mass transportation for Oklahoma
That's
City.
right. 100%.
They were going to put those everywhere.
100%.
Right?
Now we have the
Well,
streetcar.
Yeah.
Well,
Which in 10 years, that thing's going down
First of
drag
all-
strip.
as soon as you got in,
yeah.
right, the sun was shining. It was 30 degrees hotter in that
It's
thing.
like a glass,
And
a greenhouse.
yeah, it was a greenhouse.
Growing plants in there.
That's right. And it was miserable.
Yeah.
The air conditioning didn't work very well. It was, the way that the doors worked, they really couldn't seal it up. It rattled and banged, and there was a lot of problems with it. In order to fill all the seats, you had to climb over seats.
Yeah.
To get in.
But did you enjoy it?
It looked cool. Oh, as a kid, I loved it.
Right.
Look
I
out for
think
that.
top speed was like maybe 6 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Whenever it first started, and then whenever we decided that we were going to build something, and we were going to race another garage out of Texas called
Gas Monkey. It was Gas Monkey. We were going to race Aaron called Misfits.
the Misfit Garage. And I just wanted something unusual, and that was on Craigslist. And we went and got it. And we didn't have much money to work with.
Somebody is selling this.
Someone was selling the caboose, right? The very end of it, because all that stuff went to auction,
Yeah.
which surprised me, that they took down the Space Needle,
Right.
They took down the monorail, all the history at the state fair. I realized it was going to cost a lot of money to get the Space Needle up and running, but we wanted to try to get a GoFundMe page. We could have easily raised enough money with all of the Oklahomans,
Yeah.
that would want to
They
see
would've
that.
wanted
The people who've ridden that, like
Yeah.
yourself as a kid.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we could have saved it.
Put in a park.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah, it'd
we
be like
know-
the blue whale of Catoosa. This is just completely
Right.
somewhere else.
We know
Yeah.
that it costs a lot of money to take down.
Right.
So we could have used part of that money with a GoFundMe page. The monorail was miserable. No one wanted to ride it.
Yeah.
And then they left a section of it out there up as a piece of history for the state fair. And then a storm came along, knocked it all down, and then they just chunked it all.
Well, there was actually tragedy
Right.
too.
That's right.
There was a tragedy with a truck not paying a
that's
truck
right.
driver trying to go
Okay.
under the,
Yes.
and I think I don't know the whole story, but he ended up not.
Right. That's right.
So,
Yeah.
I think there was a liability there.
So I can understand, it was just easier to make it go away, but
Yeah.
we wanted to jump on board,
Right.
and try to save this stuff. So obviously, whenever this monorail came up on Craigslist, I was all over it.
Yeah.
We were going to make a race car out of this thing, and it turned out that. I thought that I wanted the engine, the front part, right? But the only thing available was this caboose. Well, when you turn it around the other way, we're left-hand steer,
Yeah.
and the door was on the left-hand side, so it all worked out perfect.
Yeah.
And the caboose was lighter. It was
Okay.
just an aluminum frame with some stainless steel, fiberglass. It was still pretty heavy because the thing wound up weighing 4,500 pounds, and that's pretty heavy for a race car.
Yeah.
Anyway, it almost killed us whenever we built that thing for the show. There again, my engine builder, Mark Brown, out of Salina, Kansas, Advanced Engine Machine, he built an LS motor for it that made 1,800 horsepower with a Pro Charger. And the thing is ridiculous.
Yeah.
If every once in a while we'll get it out and we'll drive it around, and it's a little, since it's all-wheel drive. If you're not in the right spot, and you put it to the floor, it'll change lanes on you.
Yeah, you gotta pay attention.
You got to pay attention. It's a powerful
Yeah,
machine.
it is. It's different.
Was that the first one that was a bit out there then? Kind of the first kind of the creations that you've done that was a bit nuts?
Out there.
I don't
I mean,
know.
like a truck you put in,
The farm
that's
truck-
not generally a car to start off
Yeah,
with.
okay, so it went farm truck, dung beetle, farm bird.
That's right.
Right, which are all vehicles generally. This was the
Vehicles.
first one that you put wheels on, I guess.
Okay,
Yeah,
so the
right?
farm truck, it's an unusual vehicle.
Yeah, uh-huh.
Because it looks like a piece of crap that needs to go to the salvage yard, and it's fast.
Yeah.
Right. The dung beetle. Whenever we got that, we kind of wanted to stick with the same
A
concept.
sleeper. We
Yeah,
were into
yeah,
the
yeah,
sleepers,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And it was a nice car. If you look at the dung beetle and
yeah,
open the
super
door,
nice.
the paint on the dash and inside
We
the
ruined
door
it.
is amazing.
Yeah.
Right? But we wanted to make it look like a sleeper. So
Right.
we ruined the paint job on it, made it fast. And then also people don't expect a Volkswagen
No, they don't. Yeah.
to be fast. Same thing with the Farm Bird. It's a 1976 Trans Am with a Pontiac motor. And we put a camper on the back of it. I mean, who does that?
Right.
You know? And then the next one after that was the Gonorrhea, which was by far the most unusual thing. And when people see it when we're driving down the road, it's either a shock look on their face or a big smile.
Yeah.
But what gets me is the people that don't even notice. They're just driving.
Yeah.
That's fine. Just another car.
That's right.
But you know, it's almost. I learned from a business perspective, it's not brandable. It's
Really?
Nobody know. How do you describe it? How do you tell anybody what it
you're
is?
right.
You can't. It has to be orange truck camper shell, farmer and an Asian.
Yeah.
It's so dung beetle, Volkswagen Bug that's dirty and
Right.
it goes fast. Farm Bird's got a camper shell on the train. Gonorrhea.
What is it?
But it just meant something to Oklahoma generally,
We
right?
don't even know if that meant any.
Which is kind of strange that it hasn't, I guess.
I think that it means something to older Oklahomans.
Maybe.
You know,
Maybe.
it does. It means something, you know, to those people.
Yeah.
So,
But even the state fair didn't want it. You know,
That's so weird.
You would think we'll drive it
Yeah.
over there, right? Like we will
Right.
Stick it on a plinth. It's gonna stay
free.
there. Yeah.
Just take it,
Yeah.
and they don't want nothing to do with it. I
Not
don't
even
know.
at like the car show or anything.
no,
OKC
nothing.
car
Never
show.
got a
or whatever?
request. So
Jeez.
you know, I don't know. We don't really understand it.
Yeah.
You know, we thought that it would be great to have the Gonorrhea set up at the state fair, let people check it out,
Yeah.
and look at
Right.
it. But it.
hey, if you're listening, Scott Munns, give us a call.
Still available. It's not going anywhere.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Are there any like talking about TV shows and ideas that worked and failed and you know we loved and thought would work, and I'm sure there's plenty of ideas that you were like, this is gonna kill it, and it just flopped. Are there any pilots and stuff that nobody knows about that never made it to air, or ideas that people came to you or you took to them that were like, you know, is there anything out there that people don't know anything about that you thought was going to be the next big thing?
I actually, the Gonorrhea was one of them.
Yeah.
I really thought it was, and it taught me lessons.
Yeah.
Right, there was lessons to take away from that. That
Yeah.
has to be relatable.
There's a lot of relatability to the dung beetle because a lot of people rode around in them as
Yeah.
kids. You know, there's a lot of people. Their grandfather had a 1970 C10,
Right.
You know, or their dad, and nobody had a 1964 Gonorrhea.
Letty Harris Salon.
Oh,
What is this?
Rookies.
I know, right?
So
What have you learned in 10 years of production?
No, what,
I don't know how a phone works.
That's all right.
That's a good question, though. But no, everything has been a guess.
Okay.
Really,
Yeah.
we didn't. I never hold expectations. I want to. I want to have metrics and data
Right,
and things. But
yeah.
but with what we do, I haven't been able to do it. So I've actually let that go.
Okay.
Right. It's
Yeah.
a good question,
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
and I want to answer it, but I don't have it because I've not attacked. Even with our show coming out now,
Yeah.
he'll want to see. I don't care about ratings. We did it.
Yeah.
Right,
It's
like-
on what's next.
Yeah,
Right?
what's
Yeah.
next? What's tomorrow? Right? Like, and so either it's good or it isn't. Either people
Yeah.
like it or they won't. Either we get paid or we won't. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter to me. We did it.
So go into what is next then. Like the thing that I saw you guys driving today is like Americana, right? Big wings.
Sure. Johnny Cash.
Yeah, like, and then you got this giant thing hanging out the front
Yeah,
of it.
for
Like,
sure.
okay, that's
Yeah.
it's not just a cruiser down the street with old music and style and class.
Sure.
This is gonna blow the doors off as well.
Yeah, that's right.
Tell me about it.
So that was we got an education from the Australians.
Okay.
That's
They're doing burnouts and how they do them, and typically
Yeah,
Americans
spinning, is it what they call
spin
it?
them.
Is that what they call it? Spinning?
The skids.
Skids,
Doing
yeah,
skids.
like just burning out
Spinning.
until.
Spinning is more of a South African.
That's
thing.
right. You're
South
right.
African.
Yeah.
And it's all the same.
Yeah.
But we learned that Americans never picked that up. Americans
Right.
always thought that burnouts were intentionally made for drag racing or NASCAR, bumping your nose up against the wall and smoking the tires,
Right.
or just staying still. And America never adopted. Oh, you can do those, but America doesn't like to adopt anything that isn't theirs.
Sure.
Right? Cricket?
Yeah.
No cricket.
Cricket's
It's not here.
terrible.
Right? It's like
Right.
drifting.
Football's one of them, Football, not
right?
rugby, yeah.
Drifting is too Japanese.
Yeah.
Even though it's hugely popular. Right?
Right.
Like it's got a giant cult following here that nobody knows about.
So it had to be drag racing.
It had to have some relation, and it's just now picking up because there's some YouTube influencers that are adopting it, making it their own.
Okay,
And
yeah.
the younger generation is assuming he invented it or they invented it, and that's fine.
Because that time period has peaked and valued, and
Here
now
it
it's
is.
like,
It's
oh,
got-
we can do this now.
That's
yeah.
right. So the perfect timing has allowed the younger generation to not know that if it isn't American, it don't matter.
Right.
And so a lot of influencers have taken onto this burnout thing. This car was built for that purpose as well.
Yeah.
And so, 1963 Cadillac, big block, blower
Yeah.
sticking out of the hood is an homage to the
Okay.
Australians.
Yeah.
And the big wing is just Americana.
Yeah.
And the rest is the uniqueness of his mind and the team.
Yeah. I bet it's great to look back and like when you're a kid, you think, I'm gonna, when you're drawing something as a kid and you put fins and wings
Yeah.
and like it's like that scene in The Simpsons where like Homer designs a car,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah,
it's got a bubble top and it's amazing, and then he designs another one and it sucks.
Yeah.
It's just like that. You've basically figured out how to make a business out of designing wacky, wild ideas because there is a market for it. People love
guess
it.
so.
You're like, people probably would look at you guys and think, I want to do that. I want to spend a day with you guys. I want to do that all day.
Yeah.
But obviously they don't know all the
Th-
hard work
that's
that goes
right.
on behind the
Right.
scenes,
Yeah,
right?
that's
They
right.
see a 5-minute
We're
video
grateful for that.
of you doing great, cool stuff that's not just, not just
Well,
clowning around all day. And
yeah.
then there's a business mind behind everything
That's right.
too, right?
And there
Which
was
keeps it going.
And there's integrations. We did the Zamboni.
That's right.
The Lamborghini for the Vegas Golden Knights. The hockey team wanted us to
Okay.
build something for them.
Ice
Yeah.
resurfacer, the machine that goes out on the ice
Yeah,
and
the
slows it
slow.
over.
Yeah.
They wanted us to make one of those a hot rod, and so we did. And it's the fastest Zamboni in the world.
That's right.
And so we did that. Episode aired.
Yeah.
We hid inside the Zamboni, put a Hemi motor in it, built from a Modern Muscle Extreme, and to kind of fall back into what this podcast is about, we try to keep everything as local as possible.
Yeah.
We wrapped it with local vinyl. We the tint local, right? Like the wheels, we get it local. Like the drive shafts are made local,
Yeah.
and so I know a lot of these things seem so extreme, but a lot of the components, the raw materials, come right here from Oklahoma, and we couldn't have it any other way because shipping has been an issue.
Yeah.
Right.
Huge
Big issue.
Yeah.
So we've had to. A lot of these vehicles that they're seeing air right now is Oklahoma built, and we're proud of that.
Yeah. What's next? Like, it sounds like you don't want to stop.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, what would you do if you stopped? You don't want to think about that.
We don't know. That's
Yeah.
a good question that we're asking ourselves a little bit. They could call us up at any minute and say we're picking up the show again. It's still airing.
Yeah.
We've still yet to
Right.
see what the.
Normally, they wait for the ratings to come in.
Okay.
Whether they're going to offer us a second season, we don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And as hard as it was to do the first one and build 8 things in
Yeah.
that short amount of time, we're not sure if we have the energy to do that again.
Yeah.
To that capacity.
Right.
Because I guess that would help with, if it doesn't happen, then you have the other avenues of your social following,
Sure.
the branding to
Sure.
keep like the fans happy.
That's
Yeah,
right.
sure.
Because like you just said, you said earlier, this wouldn't be possible without everyone following and fans and buying merch and following.
That's right.
Everything's great, but you need an audience. And thankfully, over the time, you've been smart about it, how to build and curate an audience. I assume you're not going to stop doing YouTube videos,
Right, that's
even
right.
though that
That's
might
right.
be not. You might not be posting 2 or 3 a week. You might do just 1 a week or one every
Right.
but it's kind of neat to kind of follow the last 10 years to see that you guys have kind of positioned yourselves in a way every year that if the show were to stop, we've still got something to do.
We also want to do events.
Yeah.
We know that the fans would want to come out and see the builds that we just did for the Farm Truck and Asian show. And we travel, to different tracks and venues. And
Yeah.
so we have lots of avenues to go down.
Where haven't you been to that you want to go to? Places like car cultures to see around the world and stuff like that. I know, so you mentioned you've been to Australia, but
I would like to. I think Wales.
Sit in a forest in Wales and watch some guy go sideways past you at 150 mile an hour, and then wait for the next guy to come past. Yeah.
We know this-
freezing cold.
we
You know
know-
what they call those people? They call those people the bobble hat crew because they wear bobble hats and
Oh, really?
beanies because
Okay.
it's so cold. Yeah.
Well, we know this YouTube influencer that does a podcast, and he's from there.
Yeah.
I'll happily
We think
take you
he's a
around there.
very interesting guy.
Yeah, I'll happily take you around there. That'd be so
You know,
fun.
something crazy like Dubai.
Yeah.
Right? Like bring a hot rod to
Crazy scene over there.
Dubai.
Yeah,
the sand
sure.
Oh
buggy
my
stuff that they
God.
have, right? They all have huge
They
motors
got
in
those
them.
perfect roads for miles
Yeah.
that nobody's driving on with no curbs. It's
Yeah.
like, God, you could just rip it all the way down it. I don't know, something crazy like that. I don't know, the Great Wall of China.
We've been to a lot of different places.
Yeah.
And we get invites all the time. We actually got an invite to go to Dubai, but we've been pretty busy filming the show, and it's hard to get away.
Yeah.
But anywhere crazy that we could do what we do, visiting's fun.
Okay,
You can-
well, we
Yeah.
could settle for Wales, couldn't we?
we could settle for Wales.
You need to take the weather here with you because it's not. You can't do anything in the rain.
Okay, we'll have to figure that out.
You can do burnouts in the rain, but that's not fun. It's not going to produce any smoke.
Okay.
So, I mean, the good thing about it though is like cars brings people together, doesn't it? Like you've got cultures all over the world
You do.
that when you go there, even if your culture's different, you can resonate. Like the
right.
Australians have the mad burnout stuff,
That's
but they've
right.
also got like the Ford Holden thing, right?
Sure they
Which is
do.
like
That's right.
Sure they do.
I mean, that's like Oklahoma,
rivalry.
Texas. Like it's
Yeah.
a big
Yeah.
deal. And then you go to, like I said, Japan drifting, and Dubai
Right.
is just, I mean, dripping in money. And you've got
I
anything
know,
sand
right?
buggies and drag stuff, but it's the beauty of it, and that's why I love like just cars and talking about cars. Is just it brings people together and brings people together that generally you probably wouldn't see. You got someone, even if you go to Coffee and Cars here, you got someone that's got $1 million McLaren
Sure you do.
next to a guy who's got a truck that's been in his family from day one,
Yes.
and he's rebuilt it 4 times, and
Yes.
it's so unique, and that's the great thing about it.
They can share the emotional
exactly,
attachment.
yeah, and that's super
You know,
cool.
We always say it's the cars that bring us together, and it's the people that keep us together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and somehow he's managed to keep you around for 10
Yeah, right. It's probably the other way.
yeah. Finishing up, thanks. I know we're getting a bit long. I know you guys
like
are super
it.
busy. What's one thing that I guess you wish people would ask you? I mean, you've been doing a show. You've probably been into it a ton of times. What are stuff like you can get into? You're like, I want to talk about this. I wish people would ask me
wished
about one thing.
That you wouldn't ask us that question.
I don't know.
No, you have very good questions.
Yeah, you do
by the way.
actually. That's a very good question. I wish people would ask how to do this.
Mm-hmm.
If they want an inkling of how to do this, branding, put themselves in front of the camera,
Yeah.
How to get their start. I wish people would ask more on how to do it. People want to say, "How'd you get that thing, man?
Right.
How'd you get that job?" Right? Like they're not asking for themselves.
No.
I think so many people could improve themselves by removing these inefficiencies that prevent themselves from getting there.
Yeah,
And that's all it is. And man, I'd love to tell someone how we did it, and maybe they can knock something loose.
Right.
But nobody can. It isn't that they don't ask; they don't care.
Got you.
I don't care.
Yeah.
And they would, if they cared, they'd ask, because they'd be frothing to find someone to tell them
Right.
how to do this better, but they don't. And so I guess the inquisition is lacking, and I really wish to see that sparkle in someone else's eye. Whatever you want to do, man, go ask someone who's already doing it.
Yeah.
Go ask them all the questions. Annoy them till they kick you out of their house. No one does that anymore.
Yeah.
Right. And that was me as a kid. I asked too many questions. Right. And he too. Annoying. We're annoying. And but we wanted to know how to work. I don't see that anymore.
If somebody came up and asked all those questions, we'd give them a job. Maybe they don't want a job.
Yeah. I don't know. What? How about you? What do you wish someone would? I've never been asked that question.
I don't know. I get sick of talking about me, and I like to talk about other people. And whenever I meet fans, I'd rather talk about them than me.
Yeah.
So,
Was it like when people started being fans and coming up to you? Did it make you feel uncomfortable at first?
oh my God,
Why are you
Yeah.
clambering over me? Why do you want us? Like, why do you want me to
Right,
sign something? Like,
For me, it's never left. Right.
Yeah.
Like I still struggle with it because it's an intense feeling of embarrassment, and
Right.
I can't explain it. Right.
Yeah.
Like it just feels embarrassing. Again, I can't explain it. So, but that's how I feel, and
Yeah.
I've struggled to get over that. No hate on them, nothing at all. But when someone comes up to me,
it's just a feeling that
it's
you're
immediate.
not used to, right?
It's immediate.
Right.
It's never gone away.
Yeah.
And so I immediately feel extremely embarrassed.
Have you been on the other side of that and met through this the last 10 years, met someone who's like you looked up to, like they might be a race car driver or someone that you're like,
Mine
I
was
can't
like,
even speak because you're
Dana White was the one that I was like,
Yeah.
oh God, I meet it. And
UFC Dana White?
Yeah, I didn't really ask to meet
Yeah.
him. They let us, so I just let it happen.
Where was that?
We were actually at a Tough filming. We were
Yeah.
at a Tough
Yeah,
filming. They
it
were
was in
filming.
Vegas.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
in Vegas, and we were just looking. I
That's
called my
right.
buddy up, Skyscrape. He owned the company Tap Out.
Okay.
At the time, and
Is he tall by any chance?
He's giant,
Okay.
right? Like he's giant,
Good dude.
giant, super good dude. And he
Yeah.
made some connections, got us. He said, "Oh, you guys can have a tour." And we were touring the facility there at the time, the
Yeah.
original. And he was like, "Hey, they're filming. Do you want to do that too?" And we weren't supposed to be there,
Yeah.
right? And so we were all in there, and he brought his dog, and she's barking while they're filming, and sitting next to us is Dana White, the owner of Pilgrim Studios, the executive producer of Tough, and then all the other producers. We're just like, okay, we don't belong here. And at the show was over, and then Dana invited us in the back. I kind of threw a couple questions at him. He
Yeah.
answered them gracefully, and they shuffled him out of the room. For me, that was a big moment
Yeah.
because he took the time to listen and then answer some questions. And he was what it was: stick by the people, stick by your original people. I was like, hey, what would you tell?
That's what he said. Yeah, stick with your people.
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
what would you tell a fighter if you could tell him something and he would listen and apply it? And he was like, stick to the people that originally. And then he said, take risk on the opportunity that you see. He said, a lot of things in front of you will present itself as fear or as embarrassment. He says those are opportunities, and he says jump on every single one of those that you possibly can because they're disguised as what you don't want to do.
Right.
And he said that, and to me that was good advice.
That's
And
a great lesson.
And so every time I feel that inkling of, oh, we don't need it, go.
Do it.
Go hard.
Yeah.
And then the other advice was stop asking so many questions.
Stop asking questions.
Get out of my office.
Security.
How did
Dana
you get
White,
into
thank you
it?
very much.
Yeah. So that was my moment.
No, we had a good conversation with them.
Yeah.
And it was good to sit down a minute and have that conversation with them.
Did you have any moment, any people that have come across the fandom, or I mean, you might even get Instagram messages from people who are
Black
celebs
Widow?
that are friends, that are just fans or whatever?
Well, I don't do any social media.
Okay.
I really don't even
So you
know
haven't
it
met anyone
exists.
that was just like an idol of yours, and like, wow, like this is someone
well,
I didn't expect to meet because of the situation we've been in.
we did this oil and gas show. I played a little bit of pool, and I was really never good at it, or as good as I wanted to
The
be.
words of a true pool shot.
True that. Yeah.
But Jeanette Lee was there. Another company had hired her just to
Be an
play
influencer.
Okay.
Play pool.
Yeah.
Anyway, and I got to play her a game of pool, and she
Do it.
annihilated me.
Far did for good enough at first, though, for her to be like, okay, I gotta try.
Yeah.
But it was a good time. There was a lot of jokes. It kind of broke up the seriousness, because Asian brought his humor and jokes into it, and we were just goofing around.
Right.
And
It was actual real experience, not
It
just something that
was.
was
Right,
awkward
it
and
was.
kind of
That's right.
And the
That's
crowd
right.
drew,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Because most guys went in there with their ego. We're watching these
Right,
guys go in
yeah.
there with their ego, thinking, and he went in there just trying to play,
Right.
and then I'm in there barking, right? I'm
Right.
like, you ain't got nothing, So
it was a good time. The Black Widow,
Yeah.
she is a phenomenal pool player.
I'd play you in pool.
oh, nice.
I'll play.
Here you go.
I'm no count at it.
So the thing I'll give you a lesson going forward. Never play someone from the UK in pool.
Oh,
If and the only qualifying question you can ask them is, so not everyone's good at from the UK at pool, but ask them if they played snooker growing up. And if they played snooker growing up, they're very good at pool, because the pool table and snooker table pockets are much tighter back home, whereas the pool table pockets here are like buckets.
I've played snooker.
So they'll run the table.
I've played
Yeah.
in England,
Yeah.
and I've gotten my ass kicked pretty good.
Yeah.
but we'll try for $1,000.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, it's like a long alleyway, the pocket. And yeah, they're in America. They're 5-gallon buckets.
Yeah.
So
I enjoy playing pool out here.
yeah,
I wasn't very good back home, but I'm much better.
Unplug these and bring in the pool table.
It's like roll it in. Yeah.
That's our next YouTube video.
yeah.
Definitely. That's the next YouTube video for sure. Last question then. Obviously, people know you for cars, know you for crazy, creations and the YouTube and the social media and the TV show and all of the good stuff over the last 10 years. I mean, outside of all this stuff, like, what are you interested in outside of the stuff? What do you do for fun? Like, do you just sit and read or listen to music? Like, what do you do to just kind of like, because you do this all the time and you've done it for so long.
You know
do you
what?
go back to wood carving and doing handyman stuff? Like, what?
We know that this will not last forever.
Right.
All the best TV shows that they've come and gone.
Yeah.
And we know it'll end, but right now we just want to keep working and keep giving it everything we got. There'll be time to rest. There'll be time to sit by the fireplace and read or listen to music or whatever people want to do. That doesn't do much for us.
All right. Yeah. Yeah.
We'll be racing somewhere, that's for sure. Whenever all this is over,
We're gonna keep doing it till we've gotten exhausted, right?
Yeah.
But we do have our own. He likes to cruise around in the boat. You like to do some boating and
Sure.
stuff like that, right? There's simple hobbies. I mean, I think that in life you have to separate your sexy from your boring.
Sure. Yeah.
And sometimes
you
you got
gotta
a
have
sexy.
a way to get away from
You
it.
do,
Yeah.
right? And so you either have a sexy job or a sexy hobby, vice versa,
Mm-hmm.
and then that way it doesn't. But I think that we're probably a little more introverted than most,
Yeah.
right? And so for us, it's just doing car stuff with our friends. For me, he knows this. I like starting little businesses. I like
Yeah.
finding ways to innovate an idea or a little product and see if it takes off, right? So what we're doing just on a smaller scale is actually more fun.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, you can go do a burnout in front of a crowd of 40,000, or you can race and but the real joy, those are great memories
Yeah.
and awesome experiences, but the real joy comes from just doing stuff with the people you care about. Right.
Yeah.
And so
that's right.
Which is a good thing you guys get to do that a lot.
Yeah.
Right?
That's right. That's right.
You figured that out, which,
Yeah.
a lot of people wish they could do the same thing
Yeah,
too.
that's pure joy.
yeah.
Out there, you have regrets. Oh, I slipped, I fell, you have all these problems. But when you're just with your team, there's no problems, there's no judgment.
Yeah.
It's just what you're doing is what you're supposed to be doing, and I think that's what we're all trying to achieve. When guys want to work a job for 50 years and retire, well, they want to do nothing, right?
Yeah,
they want to
yeah.
do less of what they were just doing. And so
Yeah.
I think you go through this story arc of amazing, and then you want to bring it back down and just have the depreciating returns of what you really want to do.
Right.
Maybe.
So a great way to put it. I want to ask you one more question.
Please.
What are you Googling right now?
What am I Googling?
Yeah, what are you researching? What are you interested in that's just like the next thing
What's
to do?
Google?
Yeah. Yeah.
Electric. So for me, it's where the car industry is going.
Okay.
Right. So I'm studying where the car industry, because no one's talking about it. Right. And
As far as just electric and general stuff, or just car, like everything?
Yeah. For me, it's everything.
Yeah.
Everything. I have not to the point where I'm trying to figure out if we're going to war. Nothing like that. Just or stay in my lane, industry with the cars. But that in itself tells us a bigger story, right? Because the economy is involved in this and that and the other. So for me, it's just trying to understand where and why we're going this direction and how it's going to affect us and the rest of the world.
Sure.
Like a lot of people don't know that 4 racetracks have closed in the past 3 months, and Amazon has bought all of them.
Really?
Why is
Where,
that?
like across the country?
Yeah.
Right? And so why is Amazon buying drag strips? Why is it drag? I'm sure they're buying other pieces of land. Again, you can delve and fall
But it's
into
available land that's...
But it's available land. I don't know, right? And then there's...
And I guess cheap land compared to just normal land, if
Sure.
that makes sense.
Yeah, but
like
the
normally
thing
people go out and
is
buy a racetrack or
Sure.
a drag strip.
There's
Or an
things
airfield.
on that property where a drag strip is that have to be removed.
Yeah.
And you see it all the time. There's open fields,
Everywhere,
right
yeah.
across the street, but they're buying
Interesting.
Yeah.
the drag strip.
California just outlawed all single piston engines. Why did they do that?
Yeah.
Right? Like that's another. I don't know why. Right? I'm researching. So to
Yeah.
answer your question, I'm researching why these EPA changes are happening
Yeah.
so quickly. I get it. It's like, hey guys, we just noticed single piston engines produce more pollution than cows. Okay, we need to make that change.
Yeah.
But they're trying to change everything all at once very quickly with an influx of money. EV by 2025 is going to be more than half of the vehicles on the road.
Right.
Right. Why? I'm just curious. And then, what's going to happen to petrol, what's going to happen to the oil and gas industry.
Okay.
These are Oklahoma's involved in that.
Huge issues.
It's a huge issue that nobody's talking about. Everybody's just worried about themselves and the cost of gas, whereas there's a bigger picture that's happening that we should maybe understand, or we can live on with our lives. But you asked me what I'm Googling.
Until it's too late.
That's what I'm
That's really interesting.
trying to figure that out.
Yeah. Just scroll Craigslist every night, see what the next idea is.
Okay, switches over to
Well, I don't know how to get on Craigslist.
That's his TikTok.
I don't know how to get on Craigslist.
Yeah.
And luckily,
Do they print out Craigslist?
the timing of that, a guy sent it to me.
Okay.
Right? I say I found it on Craigslist, but a buddy of mine found it
That's
and
right.
sent
A
it to me.
screenshot,
It was
yeah.
perfect timing.
Perfect
You know,
So just the universe
He
aligning.
finds stuff
Yeah.
through luck.
stuff finds me.
People
Whatever.
know now. People know that, like, if they see something strange,
They do.
They know who to send.
They
That's
do.
right.
A dinosaur or
Yeah.
whatever. They send it
But-
to him.
Yeah.
But
Not thinking about anything like the rest of the world.
he's doing.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm trying to, in my own head,
Yeah.
fix the world's. I'm doing nothing. I'm doing
Right.
nothing. But
Yeah, right.
You do the creative stuff.
He
You do
works
the
more than
thinking.
all of us put together.
Yeah. No. Well, I mean, gents, I appreciate it. This has been
Now,
awesome.
wait
Sharing
a
some great
second.
stories.
Wait a second.
Yeah.
I know you got one more question in you.
I got a lot.
Just you got one more. Right.
All right. I'm gonna ask you something really philosophical.
Okay.
Let me find it real quick. It's in my notes. And I'll be honest with you, I
Take your
don't
time. Pick out a good one.
I don't take notes to podcasts for the most part because it's not authentic. But for this one, I'm like, you guys have done a lot. It's going to need some notes.
Awesome.
So where is it? I asked you that one.
Now, if you ask us one that you've already asked,
I know.
that'll be easy to answer.
yeah, I'll answer it differently.
Asked you that one. Asked you that one. Done that one. Let's see. The problem is I didn't ask them in order, so I don't know.
You're good. You're good.
Done that one. Let's see. All right. If you've got one car, one road, for whenever, you could just put yourself, if you're dreaming and you're driving one car down the best road in the world where you've ever been, what is the car, where's the road?
Wow.
And that's not the one I was trying to ask you, but that's the one that came in, so I'll look for the other one.
Okay. Well, I would have to say the road could be anywhere.
Okay.
It could be in Oklahoma.
That's true.
Right?
That's true. Yeah.
And if it was a nice straight road, I'd take the farm truck any day of the week.
Okay.
And I'd take my Nova.
Yeah.
That's
I
right.
would. I would. Yeah.
It's funny. He was driving his Nova. I was driving the farm truck on Route 66, and that's where we met.
Yeah. So it all kind of goes back to the baseline, but
Right.
it's his farm truck. He's had it forever, and my car is a longer story, but it was sold,
Yeah.
came back, got fully restored, made dreams come true, right? Changed my life, and so I can't say that we haven't. My life is fully fulfilled. There's nothing in my life that I'm looking forward to that I haven't done yet. Straight up, that's the truth. I could die today, and I hope everyone figures out my shit.
Yeah.
And deals with it. Right.
Yeah.
I have nothing in my life that I need to do. Straight up.
That's awesome.
That's the truth.
It's a good idea.
Yeah.
It's time to go drive down that road.
But that is a good. A lot of people have things that are unfulfilled, and that's a good one. Hey,
Yeah.
it could be a Lamborghini, it could be anything like that. I think that they're closer to that dream than they realize.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They really are.
And the good thing is, back to asking questions, you can either ask questions to figure it out, or you can ask questions to find out someone who owns one and ask you if you can go for a
You
ride.
can get there really
Right.
quickly, can't you, by asking
Exactly.
questions?
Yeah.
We're just one degree of separation from reaching our dreams,
Right.
but nobody will ask questions.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks, I'll figure it out on my own, or I think I know the answers, or I'm just, their ego's too big,
Right.
And I think, man, we are all just one question away from being successful.
Yeah.
Truly.
Yeah.
I believe that.
That's
The question I did find that I was going to ask you that was the philosophical one, which those answers are pretty
wait.
up there.
This is two. I only asked for one.
Yeah.
You'll like this one, though. This one's going to be a great finisher. Looking back on everything, when were you the most happiest?
Looking back on everything, when were you the most happiest?
Well, we don't have time to think about being happy.
Like, gotta do what's next.
Right.
I think after the first season, if you're talking about a micro moment.
Yeah.
Right?
We were proud of what we did
Right.
after the first. Well, we're proud of everything that we've done, whether people like it or not, because there was a lot of effort and sweat put into everything that we've done. But we were especially proud of the first season. Here we are, a couple of turd kickers from Oklahoma. Hollywood comes out. They have some ideas that they want us to do. And we told them, no, we don't want to do that. We have our own ideas. And they went with it. And we were proud that Hollywood thought that we had good ideas.
We were really
proud.
And then, now you got to replicate it, right? So I always tell people, how many times do you need to do something until you say you did it?
Yeah.
Because everyone's like, well, I got to do it again. No, you don't. You did it. You had the same story. And so we did it the first time. We knocked it out. It was hell week for us. And we got it done. And we said we filmed some television. We were on top of the world for once. The show hit #1. Felt really good. Yeah. After that, everything else is just a copy of that.
Gotcha.
Right? And it's great.
Yeah.
You absorb it. You take it with you. But for me, that was the most joy, is knowing that I did something with my friends, we accomplished it, we were successful, and we had a story to tell.
That's right.
That was it.
Yeah. Great way to finish. Gents, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
I have an hour and 20 minutes of your time, and I mean, when I said to Lou 2 years ago when we recorded this, I didn't expect to get this much, so I really appreciate it, and it's been worth waiting for, and hopefully we'll get to do this again whenever you guys want.
Yeah, let's do it.
Love to watch you grow, man.
Thanks, man. I
It's
appreciate
awesome.
it.
Thanks for your contribution to Oklahoma.
Yeah, someone's got to do it, right?
Yeah, you did.
That's right.
For everyone listening, I'll post all the links to the social medias of the guys, and you can check them out if you haven't heard of them or never seen them do the stuff that they do. If you just want to see who they are, just Google the Asian nitrous chip video, and that'll give you a perfect example of who these two gentlemen are.
Don't
what they
do that. Do not look at that.
Thanks so much for listening. We'll catch you next episode. Cheers.
See you.
This podcast is presented by the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, telling Oklahoma stories through its people since 1927. Follow them online at oklahomahof.com and definitely on Instagram at oklahomahof.
Thank you for listening. We are inspired by those around us and hope that you are too. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a review so we can keep telling your stories. For more great Oklahoma content, follow This Is Oklahoma on Facebook and Instagram.